Hello basketball coaches and basketball players. Today I'm going to talk to you about the box and one zone defense and why the Toronto Raptors used it against Golden State, how the defense works, and basically everything you probably ever wanted to know about this type of zone defense. So first off, the box and one is like this. We have a box of 4 players, and then we have one man who is playing man-to-man defense generally on the other team's best player. And pretty well, what you're going to be having is nobody is going outside of the 3-point line, or at least that's how I coach it, and that's pretty well how Nick Nurse was coaching it as well. And what you're going to have is player 4. He is going to be defending this zone. Player 5 is going to be defending that zone. Player 1 is defending this zone, and player 3 is defending that zone. Now, next, why this type of zone defense is pretty unpopular is because it does leave a lot of the 3-point line open. If the other team is able to pass fast enough, they're going to be able to get it around to the other side of the court, or maybe do a zone attack where you can get the ball in the middle, which would collapse a lot of the players inwards and leave a lot of the outer players open. Now, why the Toronto Raptors used it? The Toronto Raptors used this defense mainly because the only real attacker, or at least the only real shooter that Golden State had, was Steph Curry at the time. Klay Thompson was down injured, and of course, Golden State does have a few other 3-point threats, but they're not very consistent. And if you can get a hand in their face, that really drastically lowers their percentage. So if you even lightly contest a lot of the Golden State players' shots, obviously other than their 3 big players, you're going to have a good chance of them missing the shot. And the other thing about the box and one zone defense is it does shut down any kind of driving because it does really collapse 2 to 3 or even sometimes 4 players onto you inside that key. And out on the wings, sometimes you can get a double team. So this is why this defense was so effective against Golden State. We had my team, which is the Raptors. Of course, I'm a Raptors fan. I have been my whole entire life. Is basically we have Fred VanVleet, who is a fantastic defender at the guard level, and then we also have pretty much any player other than Marc Gasol who can guard any position. So even if there was a guard who was able to somehow pull our center, if Marc Gasol's out, it's going to be Serge Ibaka. Even if a guard pulls him out far enough where he now needs to defend against that guard, he's able to keep up with them. And this is the kind of genius as to why Nick Nurse used this defense. If your team that you coach or you play on is able to guard pretty much any position, and the other team really only has one player who can hurt you, then this defense is definitely the type of defense that will confuse the living anything out of the opponent. Now, what confused me the most about the Golden State Warriors going up against this defense was they were running a 4-out motion or a 4-out screen and roll offense, which does not work against a box and one. As we can see, we now have these 3 positions guarded. We also have this position guarded, and even if he did come onto this side, he's still guarded. And who really cares about a skip pass, because player 4, actually, he could step out a bit and take away that skip pass. Now, the genius behind the box and one is if player 1 was to go and drive towards the net, player 1 would then come down, double team, and now he's stuck. Now, of course, Steph Curry has dribble god mode, which that's what I call it, where he can just dribble out of anything. This somehow got him stuck. And even with player 4 sagging down and player 5 looking to set a screen on this, it didn't really matter, because player 1 was able to go and use that screen, and one of 2 things were happening. Player 2 was able to get around the screen for one, which really hindered the effect of that screen and roll. And then also, we had player 4 out here who could have taken a shot, but he couldn't. And they did pass him the ball a couple of times, and he did miss and clank the ball off the rim many, many times. And also, another thing that I seen was, even with that screen and roll, and player 5 was sagging down, what we would have is still a double team on Curry. Maybe player 2 would be leading the double team at this point. And what we would have is player 1 passing still out to player 4 for the shot. We would have player 5 go and recover, and then we would have player 4 go and cover down for player 5, so that player 5 blue really had no lane. And then when player 5 did get that ball, it didn't really matter because he would do some kind of spin move and try to pass out, and player 3 was able to defend both of these players. Now, B-Ball Breakdown did a fantastic series about this defense as well, so you could go check that out too. His is going to be probably a bit longer and not as in-depth as this one here because, of course, I'm showing you on a clipboard, but he did show you on actual game tape. I didn't, but this is the strategy that Toronto used, and they have been using even with Klay Thompson coming back. Now, personally, if I was the Toronto Raptors and they had this kind of success with the box and one, now, of course, this video is coming out tomorrow, and tonight is the actual final, possibly the final game of the season because it's going into Game 5, but they might just pull out, and I've been calling this since Game 4, they might pull out the rarest defense of them all, minus my own 2 defenses that I created. Links in the description below. But the triangle and 2, that will blow many people's minds if they run the triangle and 2. Now, if you're kind of curious when I'm talking about triangle and 2, it's basically you have 2 post players, and then 1 player at the point playing a zone, and then you have 2 players playing man-to-man on the other team, in this case, Golden State Warriors, top 2 players. So man-to-man defense on Curry, man-to-man defense on Thompson, and then a triangle zone where, again, same idea as the box and one, it's going to be throwing people for a loop. It's going to be blowing people's minds. And this is a type of defense that you really only see at the elementary school and high school level. So this is why it was trending. The box and one zone defense was trending all across many different social media sites. YouTube was blowing up with box and one zone defense search queries because I know that because my channel was blowing up on those videos that I've made in the past. I know this video is a bit late because they started running this defense a couple of games ago, but I thought I would make this and help you understand this defense a little bit better. I hope that you have enjoyed. If you have, hit that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you guys again tomorrow, actually later on today, for another daily basketball video.